The twin cry signaled the stars were silent except for one voice, floating deep in Sector 12. Far from any charted planet or trade route, a small emergency beacon blinked in the dark. It pulsed every 10 seconds. Faint, weak, forgotten, but the message it carried was clear. 2 short beeps, 1 long pause. Old Earth distress code. A child's cry for help inside the cockpit of the aging ship Stormborn. Captain Joran leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. He had heard that sound before years ago. During the human frontier wars, it was a signal mothers used to teach their children. Just in case. A backup for emergencies when comms failed. Joran's hands gripped the controls. Scars lined his arms. A faded tattoo marked his left shoulder, 3 stars and a name beneath, Lyra. He whispered, "Is that you?" The coordinates led to Orin 3, a dead world. It was once a mining colony, but it had been wiped from records after a mysterious outbreak. No ships had returned. No survivors were ever found. He knew the risks, but he had made a promise once: never ignore a cry for help. Joran keyed in the descent. The ship rattled as it entered the toxic atmosphere. Lightning danced across dark green clouds. The terrain below was rocky, jagged, and lifeless. Black soil, cracked mountains, no signs of civilization yet. The signal remained steady as touched down. Dust rose in waves. The wind howled like something alive. Joran grabbed his dual plasma blades and secured the chest plate of his battle armor. Then he placed a small photo in his pocket, a picture of Lyra holding twin newborns. Let's find out who's still calling. He stepped outside. Acid rain sizzled on his armor. The sky growled above him. His boots sank into the thick ash that covered the ground. In every direction, there were ruins, collapsed buildings, broken fences, and smashed machinery. But no bodies, no bones too quiet. Joran moved slowly through the fog. His scanner beeped. Multiple life forms, dozens, no, hundreds, surrounding him, moving in patterns, but never attacking. He raised his sword and whispered, "I know you're watching." Then he heard it, a small voice. Not from the signal, from nearby. Double quotes, "Help, ... Please, ... He turned sharply. A broken storage unit stood near a fallen comms tower. He approached, hand on the hilt of his blade. The door was rusted but ajar. Inside, the air was warm. A dim red light flickered on the ceiling, and there, curled together on the floor, were 2 small children. They were not fully human. Their skin was light blue, their hair white as snow. Their eyes glowed faintly green. They looked up at him, afraid, but silent. He dropped to one knee. "I'm here to help you." The children said nothing, but one of them crawled closer and touched his wrist. Joran felt something like an echo in his mind, a vision, a memory, a woman, Lyra, their mother, hiding them, sending out the signal, praying someone would come before the monsters did. He gasped, "Lyra, ... You sent them, ... Suddenly, a loud screech echoed outside. The ground trembled. Joran stood and looked through the crack in the door. The creatures had arrived, tall, reptilian, beasts with armored scales and glowing red eyes. They crawled on 4 legs but could rise to 2 when attacking. Their mouths dripped with black fluid, and their claws left burning trails in the soil. They had waited until he found the children. Now they closed in. Joran pulled the door shut and lifted the twins into his arms. "Hold on tight." He kicked the back wall of the storage unit. It cracked open, a tunnel. He had no idea where it led. but it was better than being cornered, with the twins holding onto his back and chest. Joran leaped into the tunnel and ran behind him. The monsters howled. Claws scraped the metal walls. The hunt had begun. Asterisk the things that crawled the tunnel was narrow and old. Rust flaked from the walls, and every footstep echoed through the steel like a warning bell. Joran ran with heavy steps, the weight of the twins pressing against his back and chest. Their tiny arms clung to him tightly. Neither of them cried. Not once. That silence said more than words ever could. Behind him, the sound of scraping metal grew louder. The creatures were in the tunnels now. Fast, too fast. Joran reached a split two paths. Both dark, both falling deeper underground. He glanced at the motion tracker on his wrist. Both tunnels showed movement. The creatures were already spreading. There. Hunting us, he muttered. The twins didn't answer, but he felt a small hand press against his chest again. A flash of light filled his mind. Another memory not his. He saw the layout of the tunnels. A hidden lab deep below. Safe rooms, power cores, a lift system. The children were showing him the way. He took the right tunnel and ran. More screeches echoed from behind. Red eyes flickered in the shadows. Sharp claws clicked against metal, but the creatures still kept their distance. They were not rushing in. They were waiting. Joran reached a service door and slammed his shoulder against it. It opened into a large storage chamber. Empty shelves, broken lights, but a wide, flat floor. Good enough. He put the twins behind a wall of crates and turned around. He drew both blades. The hilts hummed with blue energy as they powered up. Plasma surged down the edges, burning bright in the darkness. One breath, in. Then the door burst open. The first creature came low 4 legs, jaws open wide. Joran moved fast. One slice across the neck, the second across the chest. It dropped with a sickening hiss. Another followed this one on 2 legs. He ducked and drove a blade through its gut, lifting and tossing it aside. Then came more. 5, 10, 15. They surrounded him. But Joran did not retreat. This was not war. This was survival. His blades danced, /cut, block, move. The air was filled with smoke, plasma flashes, and alien blood. Every muscle in his body burned. Every second was a test of his limit. He fought like a machine, like a ghost from Earth's bloodiest wars. But they just kept coming. He was cut across the shoulder, bitten on the arm, clawed across the back. Still, he did not fall. Near the end, he stood over a ring of fallen beasts. 30, maybe 40 lay dead. More were coming, but the tide was slowing, and then they stopped. The creatures hissed and pulled back into the shadows, not out of fear, but obedience. From the far corner of the room, a larger figure emerged, twice their size, covered in deep red scales. Its eyes burned like fire, and its chest pulsed with glowing orange veins. It stepped forward and sniffed the air. The twins behind the crates stared, frozen. Joran stood tall. Blood dripped from his wounds. He held his blades high. "You want them? Come get me," the giant beast roared. Before it could charge, a sharp blue light flashed across the room. A hidden wall slid open behind the crates, revealing a sealed chamber, an old lab. The children had triggered it. Joran grabbed them and dove inside as the wall closed. Just in time. He fell to his knees, gasping. The twins curled into his arms. Safe for now. He looked around. The room was clean, powered. Lights flickered on slowly, screens buzzed to life, and on one of them our video began to play. A woman appeared. Pale blue skin, white hair. Lyra. Her voice echoed through the chamber. If you are seeing this, then my children are still alive. Joran stared at the screen. His hands trembled. Lyra continued, they are not normal humans. I changed to survive here, and they are born of that change. They are stronger than, they look smarter, but also hunted. Her eyes turned serious. The monsters outside were made using my DNA. I was their creator once, not by choice, but now they want the twins, because the twins can stop them. Joran looked down at the children. Their eyes glowed in sync. Calm, connected. He wiped his blade and stood. They're not just worth saving, he whispered. They're Earth's last answer. Outside the lab, the growls returned. They were not safe yet, but they had a plan, and Joran still had fight left. The mother's DNA. The lab felt strangely alive. Lights buzzed overhead as Joran walked through the silent chamber. Walls were covered with glowing panels, cracked monitors, and sealed storage cases. The children followed him closely, their steps quiet, their glowing eyes scanning the room with calm focus, like they remembered this place, like they had been here before. Joran kept his blades ready. His breath was heavy. The deep wounds from the fight still burned, but pain meant nothing. Now, not while the twins were watching him. Not while Lyra's face was still on that screen. The message from the children's mother continued to play. She sat behind a desk in the video, her eyes tired, her hair messy, her voice shaking but strong. I once worked for the Galactic Council's science division, she said. They sent us to Oran 3 to develop genetic solutions for hostile planets. We used Earth DNA to build life that could survive anything. Acid rain, poison air, monster wildlife. She looked down. We succeeded, but not in the way they wanted. Behind her, the video showed footage. A baby born inside a sealed pod. Its skin was blue. Its eyes glowed green. The first child, then another. Lyra smiled. I didn't make weapons. I made children, my children. Joran sat down. The twins moved beside him, one on each side. They watched the screen quietly, their faces expressionless. But Joran could feel the emotion in the air. These were not just survivors. These were her legacy. Lyra's voice turned cold. The council did not approve. They wanted control. So they made monsters from my early work creatures with my DNA but no soul. They turned against us. They took the lab. The crew died. I hid the children. On the screen, Lyra looked straight into the camera. If anyone finds them, they are more than human. They are hope. The video ended. Silence followed. Joran stood. His voice was rough. She was trying to fix what they broke. He looked at the twins. And now they want you, to control you, or kill you. Suddenly, the lab's main screen flashed red. Alarm, life forms, breaching inner walls. The creatures had found a way. Joran turned quickly. We're moving. He scanned the lab for anything useful. In one sealed chamber, he found a rack of prototype weapons. Most were useless, either old or damaged. But one caught his eye. A pulse shield module, small, wrist-mounted, meant to protect others, not the wearer. He strapped it onto one of the children's wrists. You two stay close, and if I fall, you run, understand? The twins nodded. Still, no words. But no fear either. He led them out through a maintenance door that connected to a deep tunnel system under the mountain. The way out wasn't simple. The creatures were everywhere, now banging on walls, screeching through vents, breaking floor grates open, and they weren't alone. As Joran reached a deep chamber filled with collapsed pillars, he saw something new. Figures walking like shadows, machines, drones, old Federation models but reprogrammed, twisted, serving the monsters. They brought tech back online, Joran muttered. This isn't just survival, this is war. A blast echoed through the cavern. One of the drones fired a stun shot. Joran rolled to cover, pulling the children behind a rock. They're trying to take you alive now, he whispered. Joran activated a remote explosive and tossed it across the room. It attached to a pillar and lit up. The detonation shook the ground and dropped rubble over the entrance. For now, they were cut off, but time was running out. He turned to the children. We need to reach the landing tower. There might be a beacon we can hijack. I'll send a message back to Earth. Someone needs to know about you. The twins nodded. This time, one of them touched his hand. Joran saw something, again another vision. Not a memory, a message. A large chamber beneath the tower. A control center. Something buried. Something powerful. Something Lyra never finished. A weapon. Joran gasped as the vision faded. You want me to go there? The twins stared at him. Silent.Joran laughed softly. You really are your mother's kids. With that, he picked them up and moved. Through broken tunnels, past bones, past old signs that once said authorized personnel only. Everywhere they went, death followed. But not for them. They reached the chamber under the tower. The walls were covered in strange symbols, human and alien mixed. In the center, a huge, sealed pod rested on a platform. A voice echoed in the room. Lyra's voice. Pre-recorded. Project Genesis. Activated. The pod lit up. Joran looked at the children. What did your mother leave behind? Asterisk the hive awakens, the room rumbled. Lights flashed red across the walls. The strange pod in the center hissed softly. A warm mist rolled across the floor, as if something inside was breathing for the first time in years. Joran stood still, blades in hand, sweat running down his face. The twins stayed close beside him, their glowing green eyes fixed on the pod. They were calm, but tense, like they already knew what was about to happen. He glanced at the strange writing along the walls. Some of it looked human, some alien, but most of it was something new. He stepped closer to the pod. A small panel lit up on its side. A fingerprint scan. Next to it, a message blinked. Lyra, DNA. Only the twin girl reached out, her fingers small and glowing faintly blue. She pressed her hand against the panel. The system scanned her palm. The chamber trembled. A deep hum echoed through the room. The pod began to open. Steam poured out in thick clouds. The light inside was bright, blinding. For a moment, Joran raised his hand, shielding his eyes. Then, slowly, the figure inside became clear. It was not a weapon, it was a suit. A battle exosuit, tall and powerful. Sleek metal, reinforced joints, glowing circuits across the chest, and carved into its side. The name Mother. Joran stepped forward. She built this, for them, but the twins didn't move toward the suit. Instead, they looked at him. Then the boy walked up, touched the control panel again, and the suit opened wide. It was meant for someone else. It was meant for Joran. He paused. No, I'm not her. The twins stared up at him, silent, waiting. Joran looked at the battle scars on his arms, at the burns on his chest, at the photo still tucked in his armolera, holding the twins when they were newborns. He remembered her voice. If anyone finds this, protect them. He stepped into the suit. The machine closed around him like it had waited for years. The chest locked in place, arms adjusted. A neural cord wrapped round his spine. Suddenly his mind expanded. He could see data, heat signatures, enemy positions, a full map of the hive's tunnels, weak spots in the mountain, power lines still active, and deep below he saw it, the hive core, the true source of the creatures, a massive pit of living matter, guarded by hundreds of beasts, and all of them were awake now. They were coming. Joran turned to the twins. His voice echoed through the helmet. Stay behind me. It's time we end this. He stepped out of the chamber. His boots slammed against the ground. Every movement in the suit felt like thunder. The doors ahead slid open. Dozens of monsters stood there waiting, not rushing, just watching. Joran walked forward, then charged. The battle was not a fight. It was a storm. Joran moved like a force of nature. The suit's arms launched energy, blasts that threw creatures into walls. Plasma blades erupted from his wrists, slicing through armor like paper. His shield pulsed around the twins as they followed behind and touched. He moved down tunnel after tunnel, clearing paths, heading straight for the hive. But the monsters weren't just beasts. They were learning, adapting. They began flanking, using tunnels. Some had weapons, makeshift tools, stolen tech, repurposed drones. The fight grew harder. A beast lunged at the twins. Joran grabbed it mid-air, crushed its throat, and threw it into the wall. He was bleeding again. Even the suit could not protect everything. Then finally dash, they reached it. A giant cave, alive, breathing. The walls pulsed like organs. In the center, the hive core glowed red and black, beating like a heart. Around it, hundreds of creatures crawled, protecting it. And behind the core, something even worse, a massive figure, 10 times taller than any monster they had faced, covered in armor, eyes burning with rage. It was the Hive King. Joran stepped forward. The twins stood behind him. Together, the Hive King roared, and every monster charged. Joran whispered to himself, "Falira." Then he attacked. He moved like lightning, cutting through wave after wave, blades flashing, guns firing. The air filled with smoke, heat, and the screams of dying monsters. The Hive King stepped in, fast, brutal. He struck Joran across the chest. The suit cracked. Joran dropped to one knee. The Hive King raised his claw for the final blow. Then the twins stepped forward. Their hands touched the ground. A wave of blue energy burst outward, freezing every monster in place for just a moment. Long enough, Joran leaped up, aimed his core blaster at the Hive King's chest, and fired. The blast tore through the monster. Fire and light filled the room. The hive core screamed, then exploded. The entire mountain began to shake. Joran ran, the twins in his arms, rocks falling, fire spreading. But they made it. They reached the surface as the hive collapsed behind them, and for the first time in decades, Oren 3 went silent. Every scar was worth it. The fire behind them burned like a rising sun. Joran stood at the edge of the ruined mountain, armor scorched and cracked. Smoke curled around him. The sky above Oran-3 was no longer black. It was glowing orange, painted. By the firestorm below, the hive was gone. The creatures were gone. The screams had ended, and the twins were alive. They sat beside him now, wrapped in a thin emergency cloak, leaning against his sides. Their tiny faces were quiet, but no longer blank. Their hands still glowed faintly, connected to the world in a way only they understood. They stared at the horizon like they had never seen light before. Joran had no words. His body ached. Every part of him was bruised, burned, or broken. The exosuit had shut down, drained of power. But he kept one hand on his blade, just in case. He looked down at them. "You did it," he said, voice hoarse. "You stopped them." The boy glanced up. For the first time since the mission began, he spoke. "No, you did." Joran froze. The girl nodded slowly, and her voice followed. "You protected us." He laughed, just once. "It hurt. Your mother would have been proud." They both looked at him now. Slowly, the girl reached into her small satchel. From it, she pulled something small and old, metal pendant, shaped like a star. Human design. She placed it in his hand. She said it belonged to you. Joran stared at it. He had not seen it since Earth, since Lyra vanished. His fingers closed tightly around it. "I thought I lost this." A faint beeping sound cut through the silence. His wrist beacon. He checked the signal. A response. Earth fleet. A patrol ship had picked up his emergency ping. They were en route, 30 minutes away. He looked up at the sky again. "You're going home," he whispered to the twins. "Earth will protect you now." But the twins did not smile. Instead, the boy looked at him seriously. "Not everyone will understand us." Joran nodded. "Maybe not, but some will." He stood, slowly, bones grinding in protest. "And I'll be there when they do." The patrol ship broke through the clouds 20 minutes later. Sleek, fast, silver and blue. It hovered just above the burned plane, kicking up dust as it landed. A hatch opened, and 3 soldiers stepped out in full armor. Behind them, a medical officer rushed forward. They froze when they saw the twins. Joran stepped between them. "They're with me." The officer lowered her scanner. What are they?" He looked back at the twins. "They're what comes next." The team led them onto the ship. Medics treated Joran's wounds, wrapped his burns. But nothing hurt as much as watching the mountain fade behind them as they took off. It felt like leaving a grave in the command chamber. The captain of the Earth Fleet patrol ship turned to him. "We received only fragments of your signal. Something about an old colony, genetic weapons, a hive." Joran leaned back in his seat. "You wouldn't believe it if I told you." "Try us," he smiled. "It started with a cry from the stars." He told them everything. The signal, the children, the monsters, Lyra, the hive core, the battle, and the cost. When he finished, the room was silent. The captain looked at the twins, then at Joran, and now he looked at the children. "They need a home, somewhere safe, somewhere they can grow." The captain nodded. "We'll take them to Earth. Genetic screening, quiet reports." Off the record, Joran nodded. "Good." As the ship broke orbit, the girl reached for Joran's hand. "Will you stay with us?" He hesitated. The war was over. His job was done. But their mother had trusted him. Her final gift was not the suit, not the message. It was them. He looked down at the scars across his palms, burned into his skin, each one a memory, each one a fight, a sacrifice. He squeezed her hand gently. Every scar, he said softly, was worth it. The twins leaned against him, and together they watched the stars return.